Hey, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to look at creating our own custom wall sweeps. So if at any point in this video you happen to learn something, please demolish that like button. It really helps me out a lot. Okay, so we're going to get into it real quick right now. We're looking at wall sweeps. And so what is a wall sweep? Well, we've got a wall. If we just draw a basic wall, we've got our wall. But we might want to add something to this. We might want to make it a little more original, might want to make some sort of profile or model or something that will follow the wall as the wall moves and curves and does what it does. And a lot of examples might be a cornice or a wall base or a coping or a number of things that would follow a wall. And so that seems to make sense. But you'll also notice at this drop down, we've got wall sweep. And if I click wall sweep, then we can just put in this default cornice. And we've got a couple of different ways that we can place this horizontally and vertically. And it's really nice, really easy to do, and you can see it's very simple. Of course, I can restart the wall sweep after I begin it if I want to, and we can see all of our different types here, which just by default in this default template, is just this cornice. And the main thing to be aware of is what we're working with here, and what we're working with in particular is a profile. So this profile is just default, and by default, it's, if you already notice it, it's just a square. And we can see we have a couple of options here that we can begin to look at. Cut walls, yeah, sure, maybe we want it to cut the walls. Depending on where the profile is, you can see that it will cut the wall. And whenever we go to create a profile, I can show you how that's going to work. We can cut by inserts, okay, default setback, and that's just, moving the profile in and out. Again, I'll show you how that works. There's a material that you can associate it with, that's nice. And then everything else is just kind of fluff. Now, again, the profile is what we're really worried about. And so let's see, our profile is just a square, and that's it. If I zoom in here, I can see there's my square, just my cornice. If I come into edit my type here, I can always change the profile from default being a square to all the other profiles that I have in my project. And again, this is just a default template. I've done nothing here, so all these are just kind of out of Revit. So there's a lot we can look at. We've got a C-shaped profile for, like a beam or something. We've got these parapet caps, which are nice. We've got a sill for like a precast wall, and then just like a brick soldier course, which is kind of cool, interesting. So if I do a 2-brick soldier course, I can hit apply and see that that does in fact change my profile. And then come over here and I can maybe just put in this parapet. Well, there's my 16-inch parapet, and obviously that would probably belong at the top of the wall. But you can see that, there's nothing special about my type, and type being called cornice. It doesn't mean anything like anything else in Revit. I can name the type anything, but in this case, it's associated to a profile. And again, any profile in my project is going to be populated here. So I'll leave this at default for now, but what we're really interested in, obviously, is custom profiles. So let's say you're thinking, oh, I have this nice specific profile that I want to place somewhere on my wall, and it's not something that Revit has included. Well, very simple. We're going to go to Family, File, New Family, and we're going to end up creating a profile. So we can see that as we scroll down, there are a lot of different profiles. We could simply choose Profile. That makes sense. There are a bunch of different types of profiles. We could also choose a profile sweep if there were one, but there's not. So in this case, I actually prefer a profile hosted, because that implies it's not just something free floating in the middle of space. And because it will be hosted to a wall, this makes sense, and you'll see why in just a second. So with profile hosted selected, we'll click open, and we could see I'm literally working on a 2D plane. This is the only thing I'm going to work with, and you'll notice profiles are really pretty simple to work with. They're one of the simplest families to make, because we're just drawing a line, and the line has to be a closed loop. It can't just be like a line or 2 lines. You actually have to close a loop with lines. And so we're going to click lines. And so some things to be aware of here is that the insertion point is very important. This is where the profile will end up being populated on the wall. And that's, of course, something we can adjust later on, but you'll notice to the left of basically the negative axis, if you will, is the host. So like this is the wall. So this center line here is the edge of the wall. And so ideally you'd probably have the profile built over in some of these positive coordinates. Seems to make sense. You can see it says host face there. Perfect. So typically what we're going to do and want to do is start drawing our closed loop, our profile on this insertion point, because we want to be able to pinpoint where it's placed. Now, I could draw it some random location out here, and that's fine. It would still work. But the problem is every setting that we have for the sweep on the wall is going to be based on this insertion point. So that's something to be aware of, because you could just draw this out here, but it's not going to show up where you want necessarily. Maybe not. So let's say we are going to draw some sort of like ornate looking cornice at the top. We simply need to come to the line here and just start drawing. Like, it's that simple. We can come to place lines and we're just drawing a line. Subcategory is not a huge deal, but just keep that on profile. It's simple enough. And so maybe we want this thing to be like 6 inches tall. We can have it come out a bit, come out a few inches, and really just go from here. It does not matter what this looks like, because it's going to populate on the wall all the same. And you can make this as crazy as you want it to look. It just does not matter at all. So with this ridiculous profile drawn, I do want to go ahead and load this into my project. I don't need to necessarily save it right now. So I've loaded it in, and we're going to go back in 3D. And at this point, I'll go again to wall sweep. And we're going to have to place this for now, this default cornice, which is just a square. But I want to come into my edit type. I want to duplicate this, and I'll just call this custom sweep. Doesn't matter. And then I want to make sure that I choose the profile. And you can see now there's my family 2, which I have not renamed. Of course, you should rename all of your families, profiles, whatever it might be. In this case, I didn't. So family 2 is fine. And I can even give it a material if I want. I don't care about that right now, but you can. I'll hit OK. And there we go. Very simple stuff. Like, look at this. It follows the wall exactly like we want. We can place it wherever we want. We can go ahead and create similar, and I can then choose the top of the wall, something similar like that. And I can even choose to align to the top of the wall, which is probably what I'm after. So that's not bad. Very simple. So maybe I want to copy this down, and this could be a different type of profile. It doesn't necessarily matter. But let's say I have a profile down here, and I go ahead and I place a door just right there. Probably want this to be a little lower. So we can see that, the nice thing about the sweeps is that the door will end up cutting the sweep because it cuts the wall. So if I then go to edit type, I can work with my cut by insert. So the insert in this case would be like a door. I'm literally inserting the door into the wall. And so let's go ahead, and if I pull this sweep up just so slightly, you can see that once I get beyond the door, it does end up not cutting. But at this point, I can go to edit type, and then I can choose cut by inserts. And if we look at cut by inserts, it says control whether the sweep is cut at inserts, such as doors or windows. And then we can select this option to cut the sweep wherever it touches the insert. And so, we kind of see that. And we click OK, and we can see that, we're barely starting to cut. Like, basically, as I get through more of the door, I'm starting to cut through more of the profile. So you can get a very specific looking detail here, because maybe you're continuing this profile through, but the door is not really worried about the profile at all. It's just cutting out where it needs to minimally. So very interesting there. That's really nice to see. And then finally, of course, you can always change the profile, the material, anything that we need to. But let's go ahead, and I want to show you what it's like to update the profile, see what happens when we do that, but also when we end up cutting walls. And so the profiles, there's not like a place up here that you can find profiles, so you unfortunately are going to have to find them within the families. And under the families, you can see profiles, and then there's all our profiles here. Most of these are default within our project. It's just kind of the way it is, but there's my family 2 because I didn't name it. It's just me not naming correctly. There it is. So I have it again here. And what I want to do is start to just change the location here. So maybe I decide, well, I like it here, but I just want to show you what it's like if I were to move it 6 inches out. We'll just move it out here. We'll load this into our project. And immediately we have the exact same profile, but it's 6 inches off the wall. And we can see that the door is performing a cut through the profile like it was before. And you might think this is weird because it's not actually touching the profile, but in fact, this is working because the profile is still hosted to the wall exactly as the door is. The door is hosted to the wall, and the door happens to take precedent over the profile in this case. So again, very interesting stuff. We can come back here and let's go ahead and make this a little more drastic. And I'll go ahead and move this back, but I want to start to cut into the wall and show you how that works. And so I'm going to go back to create line, and then I'll just add some kind of a ridiculous set of lines here. And to note that we are clearly cutting into the wall. And so my profile is just this cutout into the wall. So this portion here will be cut within the wall. And then of course we'll see everything that we have been seeing on the other side, on the exterior of the wall. So I'll load this in. It's going to get pushed back. All that's great. But we could see here that, mainly when I select the wall, that the profile is going to be nicely cut out. The wall is going to be nicely cut out around the profile. That's awesome. Now, if I come back into my type for my profile, I can choose cuts wall. I can uncheck that, and I can see that now I'm getting the overlap between the wall and the profile. So, whether you want that or not, it's kind of up to you, but a nice thing to know, by default, it's going to end up cutting the wall. And I would say you probably want that if you're physically building a profile that is going to be within a wall. You probably want it to cut the wall. So very interesting, good to know, pretty easy to work with. Now, if we start to add more walls, this is where it starts to get, fun, easy to use, really nice. And, we can make these walls almost as weird as we want to. We can end up adding some curved walls if we want. We can just simply curve a wall like this. And so we have all these walls, and maybe we want to continue this cornice all the way through. We can simply choose add wall once I've selected the profile, and then I can just add the wall. Boom. Add the wall, add the wall, add the wall. Of course, it added it to the wrong side there, so I can undo that and make sure I'm choosing the right side of the wall that I want. There we go. And then even on curves, works great. And so again, the idea now is that because it's custom, I can always go back here into my family, update the profile, do whatever I need to. Maybe I need to adjust this a bit where it comes out more like this because it's maybe a shelf. I don't know. Load this back into the project, override everything, and we can see that that is immediately updated and it's working. It looks great. Looks great as in it's working, not that it actually looks great. But really, we've kind of looked at most things that we need to with profiles. Custom profiles, we've made our own, we've updated them all. We can modify our returns. So maybe we do want to modify what this return looks like. And by return, I mean, how is it terminating? How is the profile terminating? I click on this, modify my returns, and I have a couple options here. I can return it 90 degrees. I can always change this to a different degrees, but I'll go ahead and return it 90 degrees. And so that means I don't necessarily need to add another wall over here to get my sweep to continue. I actually still have more push and pull options, and I can just, basically end it around the corner of the wall. I don't need a second wall there to do that. Now, unfortunately, I can only do that once for each end, so I can't continue just adding returns left and right all the time. So you can see I don't even have the option of selecting this. I could only come all the way to the other side and do the exact same thing if I needed to. And so I also have the straight cut option, and in this case, I don't necessarily get to, but I could always return this around the wall like I did before on the other side, and it works just the same. So that's really nice. So we've looked at profiles, of course, on a general level, but we've created our own profile. That's the specific thing here. We've created our own using just a basic profile family. We've applied it to the wall, thrown it on different walls. We've had it cut doors and windows, things like that. It's all the same. Anything that's hosted to the wall that cuts the wall can end up working just like this. So that's really nice to know. But finally, there's one more place we can add these, which is actually really nice, and I kind of like it. And in some cases, I like it more because this ends up being a bit of a manual thing. And because I kind of always need to come back here to wall and sweep and then add it again, whether it's vertical, whatever it is, I have to come add it myself. And that's fine. I end up using this a lot, but there are a number of circumstances where I might want to add a wall. And I'm going to go ahead and use this just generic 8-inch wall that I placed around here. But if I want to place this on the base, for example, instead of somewhere else, I, of course, can go to sweeps and just put it here horizontally on the base. I can do that, not a big deal. But if I want it baked into the wall and not like something I just paste onto the wall after, there's another way to do that, and a way I kind of like to do it. More so if it's something that's going to be on every wall that's the same type and you know it and you don't want it to get in the way. I'll go to edit type, and then we're going to edit our structure, and we have to make sure that we're previewing the section. All kinds of things to look at here, but we can see we have more options here. Modify vertical structure within the section preview only. And you'll notice there's sweeps, which is awesome. So again, by default, there's nothing there. You can see at the preview on the left, there are no sweeps. And at this point, we'll go ahead and click add. It really should be pretty self-explanatory at this point, because we're going to kind of look at the same settings that we looked at for the sweeps that we've been working at throughout this entire video. So we can see our profile. We're literally choosing the profile within our project. You can see all of them. So let's go ahead and select our family, and then our material if we want, our distance. You'll see how all of this applies here in just a second. And you can see from where. Well, do we want it from the base, from the top? Well, I said we want it at the base, so we'll just go ahead and put it at the base. Do we want it at the exterior side or the interior side? This is all really nice and simple to follow. Is there an offset? Do we want to flip it? Do we want to set it back? Does it cut the wall? And is it cuttable? So like all of this is fine. I'm just going to hit apply. And as soon as I do, you can see, look at this. It's down here at the bottom. It's cutting the wall. It's literally exactly the way I want it to be. And now if I click OK, and then OK again, you can see now as I draw this wall, it is literally on the side of the wall. Let's flip these walls around. You can see like it's on the bottom of these walls. It's baked into this wall, and like it is literally a part of the wall. But while that is the case, I mean, I actually have more that I can work with here. So again, I have those modify returns, and that's because there's a wall sweep attached and stuck to the wall. But I also have the option of just pushing and pulling this myself because it's baked onto the wall. It's really nice. So I could come here again, like I did before, modify the returns 90 degrees, and just have this terminate around the side of the wall. This looks awesome. Very simple stuff, easy to do, and it's baked into the wall. And now the nice thing about a part of it now is that if I go to my edit type and I go back into the structure, I can always make any adjustment that I've done previously to earlier in this video. I can do the same thing here and have it update all those walls. So maybe I decide, distance, I don't want it quite on the ground. I want it like 6 inches higher. I can hit apply and it's going to raise it 6 inches higher. Maybe I want it on the interior side. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to flip the whole thing. Well, I can flip it that way and it literally flips it. Well, then I decide maybe I want an offset, as in maybe I want it off the wall or floating off the wall for some reason, or maybe I want it more within the wall, so minus 0.25, maybe minus 3 inches into the wall. All of this is very simple to do, and it's nice. I like this a lot because it's more precise. You can literally put this thing where you want it, and it's baked within the wall, and it's cutting the wall already. It's going to show up in section. You can modify the returns also, so you can get it to look almost exactly how you'd want it to look. And after you press OK, you can see that, boom, like this does look the way I want it to, and it's baked into the wall. So very simple, not too bad. But the cool thing is that this was all based on a custom profile. I literally was able to make the profile myself, and it's not just a square or something all out of Revit. It's something I made myself, and I can modify again as I need to. That's kind of the whole point here. We want our modeling to be something that's, we don't have to go back and touch every single instance of every single profile that we made a long time ago. We want to be able to just, boom, update it once. The profile changes, okay. Everywhere it's updated. Everywhere you have it attached to the wall, baked into the wall already, you update it. Very simple. So like all I need to do is update my profile here. If I edit this once again, and I decide, well, I don't want that nearly as far out as I had it before, and I load it back into my project, everywhere it's going to be updated. Whether it's here on the ground, here when I placed it afterwards, it doesn't matter. So that's the power of profiles, specifically custom profiles within Revit. And so I sure hope you learned something. If you did, please demolish that like button. That tells me that you did and also helps me out, and I really appreciate it. So that will do it for this video. I sure hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.